How do you defend against an opponent's outpost on e4? Have you ever faced a situation where your opponent has established a strong piece on e4? It can be quite challenging, but understanding how to defend against it can turn the tide in your favor. Let's break down the strategies you can use to counter that outpost effectively. First, let's talk about what an outpost is. An outpost is a square on the chessboard where a piece, often a knight or bishop, can be placed safely and supported by pawns. When your opponent places a piece on e4, they typically have a solid pawn structure backing it, often with pawns on d4 or f4. This setup allows them to control the center and launch attacks. One of the first steps in defending against an outpost on e4 is to challenge the pawn structure that supports it. If you can attack the pawns on d4 or f4, you can weaken the opponent's position. Moves that directly target these pawns can create opportunities for you to regain control. Next, focus on developing your pieces harmoniously. Make sure your pieces are positioned to support each other while also exerting pressure on e4. For instance, developing knights to squares where they can indirectly influence e4 can be very effective. Creating counterplay is another essential tactic. Look for chances to create threats on the wings of the board. By advancing your pawns or developing pieces on the queen side or king side, you can distract your opponent from their central outpost. Now, let's dive into some advanced tactics. Using your pawns to block the opponent's piece on e4 can limit its mobility. For example, playing d5 or f5 can challenge their control over e4 and create a barrier. Consider piece exchanges carefully. If exchanging pieces weakens your opponent's hold on e4, it may be worth it. However, be cautious not to create weaknesses in your own position in the process. Prophylactic thinking is also key. Anticipate your opponent's plans and take preventive measures. If you see them preparing to establish an outpost on e4, think ahead about how to limit its effectiveness before it becomes a problem. In practical terms, defending against an outpost on e4 requires a mix of strategic and tactical play. By challenging the supporting pawns, developing your pieces effectively, and creating counterplay, you can limit the impact of their outpost. This way, you can maintain a balanced game and potentially shift the advantage back to yourself.